So what is a proof of concept? How do we set up a proof of concept project? And how do we manage it to a successful completion? And let's start at the end. First of all, we need to know what the success criteria are for the proof of concept. Who's asking for it? How did it start? In my case, I've initiated them before. But let's assume that somebody else is doing it. We have to have a conversation to see what they expect to get out of it. Most of the time, they're just going to say, well, I just need to know if this can work. But there needs to be a little more to it than that. And I actually do success criteria meetings with the team, and we look to see how much we can really get out of this. Because it isn't just enough to know that, yes, this technology works or something. If we really can also glean information about how it works and the likely pitfalls when we go to put it in production. Just because it's feasible doesn't mean that there won't be problems that come up. It doesn't mean there won't be problems that have to be solved. Sometimes in the course of doing a proof of concept, we can identify those. We can identify issues and we can identify risks. Sometimes we identify resource needs. I mean, there's a lot of things we can get out of here. And a success criteria meeting should really cover all those and bring those to the surface. So it's, what all do we want to get? It isn't just that it works, but all the things that surround it as well. What don't we do in a proof of concept? One of the main things in proof of concept is we don't worry about getting every little detail right. We can look at a problem that occurs in a proof of concept, and the two questions are, number one, does it keep us from completing the proof of concept? Is this a deal killer? Is this a phase gate? Is this something that says, okay, this technology just isn't going to work? And we really have to always give it a really good try, and we have to make every effort, work with the vendor, work with our teams, even bring in an expert if it's a high value one. And if it's not high value, why are we doing it? But we have to really try. But there are other things that occur where, for instance, maybe a connection's slow or something breaks intermittently, but it's a familiar kind of problem and we've solved it before. So we say, well, we know we can fix that problem. So this isn't, we're not going to treat this as a no-go. So we go ahead and go forward with it. And if we have to do a workaround or we have to restart a system a lot or something, in some cases, we might go ahead and go forward that way. How do we know that a problem is a showstopper? One of them is what are you actually doing the proof of concept on? Are you doing the proof of concept on a particular piece of software, let's say? Well, if you're doing it on the software and you're having a problem with the server, the host that it's running on, the cloud service, whatever, the VM, well, that's probably not an issue. It would be nice to solve it, but maybe you don't want to take the time, and maybe it doesn't keep you from going forward. If it's evaluating software or a software service, it's really about, does the functionality do what it was supposed to do? Does the functionality work well? Does it play well with the systems it has to interface with? Again, if there's a problem that some data is not coming from the service under evaluation and you want that data, and you discover that the data just isn't there, part of the proof of concept is going to be to get a commitment from that vendor that they can in fact provide that. Now, if other data is coming over from the system successfully, and you've analyzed and this is data that's possible to be sent, and the vendor is committed to doing it. I've had some during a proof of concept that actually they would put in the enhancement request right there. I actually wrote, I've written a lot of enhancement requests in my time, but in a proof of concept, I'll come out of it with a list of enhancements. And if I'm really on the ball, I'm going to get those enhancements over to the vendor before I even finish the proof of concept. I may not get to test it because it may not come that soon, but at least I can get it in there. A proof of concept can also help you establish the relationship with the vendor. If it's a new vendor especially, you can find out if they're easy to work with. That's part of a proof of concept. It's not just, does the technology work? If I can't get good answers, if I try to get a hold of somebody to understand how something works so that we can understand how to interface it better or how to use it better, and they can't get me answers, I'm going to be worried that that's going to happen when something else comes up later on after we've already made a commitment. It's a big commitment to buy something. So that's important. So really, a lot of the proof of concept comes down to setting success criteria ahead, sticking to those success criteria, and being very clear not to put things into success criteria that don't need to be there. If it doesn't relate to what this does differently or what this adds to your organization, if you're having problems that don't really relate to its functionality or the quality of its service or the quality of its documentation, then maybe those things are not deal killers, and you could still go forward with it. So I hope that's helpful on proof of concept management.